Thank you so much for joining the Essential Therapies podcast. Dr. Cindy Hodgson here. I'm a physical therapist and exercise physiologist focusing on fascia and using the John Barnes Myofascial Release approach in my practice. I have, again, the lovely Carol Davis here. Dr. Carol Davis is a physical therapist who has been using the John Barnes method for decades, and also promoting and educating and teaching about biotensegrity now to everyone who will listen, and especially reaching out to physical therapists. We've talked before on this channel. I think this is our fourth, maybe fifth time now, Carol. And I wanted to bring you on and have you talk about the experience you just had recently at the John Barnes Myofascial Release practice in Pennsylvania. It is called The Sanctuary. It is a center focused on myofascial healing, and people will go there for intensives where they will be there for 2 or more weeks. I've had the pleasure and honor to be able to fill in there as a PRN therapist now and then, and it's just amazing to see the progress that patients can make and the space that they can enter in that true sanctuary. I believe it's a great name for it because true healing can happen. And Carol, I just want to give you the floor now and have you talk about your experience, the reason for doing an intensive. I have patients ask about this, and great to hear your words about your experience and share. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. It's nice to be back with you. Yes, I'm a week back from 2 weeks in Malvern, Pennsylvania, at the sanctuary with the wonderful therapists at the John Barnes Treatment Center, just outside, 45 minutes outside Philadelphia, northwest of Philadelphia. I have been struggling with, and that's the appropriate word, struggling with Lyme disease since 2011, when it was when I first started to recognize that my legs weren't working right. But I'd had a fracture, so I thought that it was an orthopedic problem that I was dealing with when I was feeling weaker, because I was on crutches for a long time. And as I started to get stronger and off crutches, I realized that the weakness was progressing and it was bilateral. And so then I began to realize that something was terribly wrong, but it took, and then I got very fatigued. This is a common sequence of events with people with Lyme. They don't know what's wrong. They just know they don't have as much stamina. And then they either have joint pain or paresthesias or uneasiness, or sometimes cerebral problems, dizziness, and so forth. So it took me several neurological tests, several orthopedic examinations, till I finally made my way to a functional medicine neurologist in Miami, where I was practicing. And I was diagnosed with late chronic Lyme. The effect of the bacteria that Lyme carries with it shattered my hypothalamus in my brain, and I had hypothalamic dysregulation, so that my immune system could no longer function in my body to kill antigens. The antigens took over. And in our bodies, we have the footprints of every disease we've ever had. That's how vaccines work. So we have the immune system constantly looking throughout the system for indications of something that's foreign. And then the white blood cells and the T cells and the beta cells and the mast cells do their work and clean it up. But because the immune system was dysregulated, it wasn't doing its job. And so the Epstein-Barr virus took over, and I was totally fatigued. And they did the test for Lyme, and I did have Lyme disease, but my immune system by that time was really, really well along the way to being totally shot. So at that time, I was getting myofascial release. I was giving myofascial release, and I got some relief from that, specifically from the joint pain aspect. But it really has taken over my system, and it's a challenge to simply deal with my symptoms. And I do that with a multifaceted approach, believing that I want to give my body every opportunity energetically to be primed to be able to do the best job that it can, to kill the antigens, to get the balance back in my body. And that means I stay hydrated. I do yoga twice a week. I do Pilates for strengthening in my legs. And then I do acupuncture for the flow of energy. And always, always, always myofascial release. Myofascial release weekly for an hour. And then I do my own cranial work, particularly every single day. And do my my inner work, my inner consciousness, my awareness, my talking to my cells in relationship with my body. So I've been not able to travel to teach. I was traveling all over the world. Part of the problem was that I was burned out, essentially. I was doing 2 full-time jobs at the university. I was teaching, and then I was running the curriculum. I was a vice chair for curriculum and faculty. So I was working very hard, and then I'd leave on Thursdays and fly out to wherever the course was on Fridays, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'd teach John's course and other courses. And then I'd come home on Sunday afternoon and Monday morning get started in again. And that was a pace that I kept up for about 10 years. And it was too much. So I started to eliminate some of that stress and stopped teaching for John, which I missed so much. I really loved teaching the MFR1 DVD courses. Now I've moved to Maine. My work schedule is much less. I'm teaching just from this setting, my office in Maine, and I don't travel much at all anymore. I did one trip last year, and my sister went with me just in case I got dizzy, because I've got a new complication of inner ear involvement. And I was having all the way through 2023 and up until June of 2024, bouts of the room spinning, of dizziness, of sometimes vertigo and throwing up, and uneasiness, anxiety, that I couldn't count on not becoming really disabled on a trip. So I couldn't do any of that. June 18th was the last uneasiness, dizziness that I had, and all of July, all the rest of June and all of July was fine. And so I was talking to Valerie about this from the Myofascial Release Treatment Center, and she talked to John, and they said, why don't you get yourself to Malvern for a 2-week? We've got an opening, and it's hard to get in because they're booked full. And it just turned out that the end of July and the beginning of August, I could do 2 weeks with them without doing my teaching and so forth from my office. And so I did. And I arrived for the first day on the 29th of July. And when you get there, you find a place to stay, and then I rented a car. You could Uber if you want, I think, but I rented a car, which was a little struggle for me, but I did it. It takes great courage when you have a systemic kind of problem like this. But, the source was with me. My angels were with me. I rented a car and I got myself there. And on Monday morning, I walk in and there's Katie behind the desk saying, welcome. We've been waiting for you. We have a room set aside just for you. It's going to be all yours all week. Here's your schedule. And she gave me my schedule and of my treatments. And so on Monday, I had 1:15 to 2:15, and then an overlap from 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4. So I was treated with hands-on basically from 1:15 until 4 o'clock, maybe 4:15, because sometimes they're a little late. Tuesday morning, 10:15 to 11:15, 11:15 to 12:15, and then there's a little time for lunch, and then the inner journey. And the whole group that's there this week gathers in the gym, and we do what John does very well, and we go inside and we visualize what it is that we want from our treatment. And then we learn some self-care kind of practices. Back into my room, 2 to 2:30, 2:30 to 3, hands-on, And then the same Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. In the off time, there's a sauna that's available for me to go in and sit and bake the toxins out of me. And I just can't tell you the benefit of allowing myself the luxury of being nurtured, having the courage, first of all, to recognize that they're going to uncover stuff here. They're going to uncover stuff that my body is ready to give up. And psychologically, sympathetic nervous system, I might not have been totally ready, but the unwinding takes place. The balancing, the dialogue is expert dialogue. They meet you where you're at. And I had wonderful therapists. I had Valerie, of course. I had Alyssa, who's from Miami, so we shared a Miami connection. I had Carol, who's been there almost as long as Valerie. And I had Josette and Lauren and Jill, all of them. And then during one of the weeks, there were 2 people for skill enhancement. So there were times I had 6 hands on me. It was getting energy into my system and allowing my body to reconfigure, my fascia to reconfigure around this healthy energy that's coming in to allow my system to come to a new level of openness. And the big differences I felt were the stiffness in my quadriceps and my anterior tibs, so difficult to pull my feet up when I'm walking. My muscles are much less turgid, much more open. I felt more smooth in my gait, and I felt less fatigued, much more stamina over the 2 weeks. And then during the inner journey, we had 1 hour of group unwinding, where the whole group gets together and helps us, with the help of the therapist there, to unwind with all the energy of the group in our system. And if you've ever been to therapy on the rocks or done MFR3 or the group unwinding will be familiar to you. Mm-hmm. If you're a patient and you've never done this, I can't tell you how important it is to trust that these people will really care for you. They will have you. They will support you. And then, as therapists, I like the Nelson Mandela speech, and I'll finish with this, Cindy. Okay. We get this in a packet. We get readings in a packet to help us ponder what this is all about. It's much more than just physical changes. It's reconfiguring how we are in the world, how we see ourselves in terms of our own personal journey, our highest vision and goals for ourselves, our relationships with other people, and with nature. The sanctuary is deeply embedded in the woods outside Philadelphia, and you look out the windows into the woods, you see the birds, and it rained while I was there. It was so beautiful to hear the rain and see the rain. But Nelson Mandela, in his 1994 inaugural speech, gave this speech, and Marianne Williamson sometimes is credited with this, but he said this: our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let out our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That's why it's so important for us as therapists, particularly, to allow this opening up of the flow so that when we approach our patients, and center ourselves, we are open to the energy from the field coming in through the electromagnetic spectrum into us and out our hands and into the electromagnetic spectrum of the person we're dealing with, the person that we're helping. And that resonance is what allows fascia then to open up and find its way home and bring balance back into the system. We have to be balanced as much as possible ourselves. We have to empty ourselves and open ourselves. Doing a therapy for the therapist is what helps me to open myself, to be present to myself and to be present to the other people that I'm in contact with.
Beautiful. Wow, I'm not even sure what to say after that. It was perfectly stated, and I appreciate that so much. And to point out that it's so important for therapists to be in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the quote John always uses? We can only take someone as far as we have gone ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that inner work being so important. So
right.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So one quick question too. We've talked at times, and I know I've done a video with John on therapeutic pain.
Yeah.
Sometimes this much treatment can be a lot. Do you have anything to add about that as we close?
When it is, you will be held.
Mm-hmm.
You will be supported. You will not have to, you will do the journey alone because no one can do it for you. But you will feel love and nurturing around you because that's how they approach this work. It's how John approaches this work. You have to have the courage, but you will be supported even as you do your own work. So it just takes taking the first step, writing them and saying, when is your next opening?
Yeah, exactly. And then I remember my first intensive, there was a lot of pain, physical pain that was different afterwards. Can you speak to that, as we may have some people dealing with that sort of thing?
Sure. And remember, pain is always a message that something has to be attended to. And our relationship with pain has everything to do with how we experience pain. What you'll experience in pain in doing this work is the therapist will invite you to come into relationship with your pain in a different way than you knew how to do on your own. And in that coming into relationship with pain changes. You can actually watch it change. Hopefully what we're trying to do is open up that stiff, condensed polysaccharide ground substance so that the hydration could get in there and so that it can unfold and take pressure off of pain-sensitive areas. But in the journey, sometimes it gets worse before it gets better, and it's never in a straight line. That's something that they're well aware of, and they will counsel us through that. They will help us recognize this is just all part of the process. You can only do what you can do, but we're here to help you along the way. Yeah.
And trusting that process can be hard.
Mm-hmm. But but as we said before, that there is a source within us that is goodness that will give us information about that in a way that we can trust. Our intuition, we can trust that this is what's important to go through, because the only way out is through. You got to go through that tunnel to get to the other side. It's the only way you can do it.
Yes. Yeah. Love it. All right. Thank you so much, Carol, for sharing that. It was really meaningful. It's a very intimate thing to share and so helpful for others. And looking forward to talking to you again, maybe soon, to explore more of this emotional piece, this energetic piece, which we now can talk about, which you always so eloquently put into words. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you so much.
It's my great pleasure, Cindy. Thanks very much.
All right. Have a great day and join us again next time. We will see you here at the Essential Therapies podcast. To find out more about the John F. Barnes Myofascial Release approach, visit myofascialrelease.com or call 1-800-FASCIAL, FASCIAL. To find a therapist near you, visit mfrtherapist.com. The Barnes Treatment Centers are in Malvern, Pennsylvania, the Sanctuary, and also in Sedona, Arizona. Therapy on the Rocks. Thanks so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing to our channel and share with others who may be in need. See you next time.